Good morning, Illini. Welcome back. We're glad you're here with us for Healthy Illini Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Schrock. As always, we are thrilled that you're here with us. If you're a first-time listener, welcome. We're glad you're here. If you've been with us through the whole journey, we're glad you stuck around. Today, we're talking about winter because we are in winter here in Illinois. We've finally gotten there. For a while, it felt like it was really mild here in the fall, but we have absolutely turned that corner. And we've had some colder days. We've already seen some snow come through. So it is Midwest winter right now. So I've invited my guest today, Kate Rosenbeck. She is one of our nurse practitioners here at McKinley, and she's come to share some tips today. But Kate, thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
And we were talking off air, Midwest winters are no joke. They come in, even if you've grown up here your whole life and you're kind of used to it, it's still rough. But it's even more so on a college campus like this where we have a lot of international students. We have a lot of students from all over the country. If you come in and you're not used to these temperatures, it can be a severe shock. And during Illinois winters, we can see some really bitter cold stretches. We see some fluctuations in temperature, precipitation, and wind. Wind is one of the worst around here. That's really what gets you when it's cold. And so when you're on this campus, and we're a large campus, there's a lot of students that spend a lot of their time walking from one place to another. And so that weather, that drop in temperature can be really impactful on you. If you aren't taking intentional precautions and prioritizing your health, you can find yourself just not feeling well constantly or fighting off colds or viruses, the things that impact your ability to stay engaged in the classroom, to hang out with your friends, to go to sporting events, to just feel yourself. That can easily just kind of knock you off your regular routine. So let's start with some advice for like the internal side of things, like how to protect your health during the winter months. So I'm just going to leave it kind of as an open-ended question here wherever you want to start, but what are some tips you have for maintaining or for staying healthy when the weather turns a little bit nastier?
Well, for me, prevention's always the key. You want to keep your immune system at the highest level you can. And of course, during winter months, especially towards the end of the semester, you're kind of stressed out. You're not really doing the best of things for your body just as a natural course of events. And so I would encourage supporting the immune system through various ways, like hydrating yourself. Your body needs a lot more fluids while you are sick. But to prevent yourself from getting sick, just staying well hydrated is key, as well as a healthy diet. We all are aware that we get our nutrients from the things that we eat. Of course, dorm foods may not be the healthiest all the time. Of course, the restaurants, they are all tasty and very quick to get on the go when you're studying and in a bind, but you really want to focus on trying to get, the vitamins and things through more of the whole foods, so your fresh fruits and vegetables, and, the less processed the foods, the better, generally, in the nutrient.
And I'm glad you started with the hydration, because that's something that a lot of students don't think about. And it's real easy to go half your day and you haven't hardly drank anything. So it's really important to have that water bottle you take with you, or that jug or whatever it may be, that you carry around and refill it. Because especially if you're cold and you're drinking water, sometimes it's like, I'm cold already. I don't have anything hot to drink. I'm not going to drink anything. That can be really dangerous.
Yeah, well, the nice thing about Stanley's and Owala cups and everything these days is now that they're a hot item, people are more influenced to carry a water bottle, and therefore you're like, well, I'm going to drink out of this water bottle. So that's actually a good thing. But yeah, absolutely. Hydration. Caffeine is another good point. We all, or I should say most of us, drink caffeine to stay on top of things or to function in general. And caffeine is a natural diuretic, and so it's going to make you get rid of excess fluid, and you're actually going to dehydrate yourself. So you want to drink more water if you are drinking caffeine. It's not that you can't have it, you just want to kind of boost the fluids afterwards. My rule of thumb when I talk with students is, if you drink a cup of coffee, just, imagine that same cup with water, and I would drink a cup of water in that size afterwards. And so that kind of balances out or neutralizes your fluid loss with the caffeine.
It comes back to all these things we're talking about. It comes back to being intentional. right?
Yes.
And paying attention and having a plan kind of going into it. So as we're talking about these things, all the winter safety tips, it's just about being conscious. It's not, you can do it just kind of happenstance, but most of the time, especially in the winter when you get stressed, whenever you're having classes, all the things that are going on, especially at the end of a semester, you have to be a little bit intentional in the way you approach it. And so, like you said, it's not bad having the caffeine. It's just you want to make sure you balance it out. And so you got to look at it and say, okay, this is what I've had at this point. This is what I need to do to balance that out. And it's just that intentional piece.
Yep, absolutely.
So another part of the part of safety is make sure that you have your flu shot because you're on a college campus. Get plenty of sleep, things like that. Vitamins, these are the kind of things we're talking about as far as staying intentionally well in that, along with hydrate, we say a lot of students don't think about that, but we talk about sleep as a important key for like your studying, for being awake and stuff, but it's a huge part of your immune system as well. Would you share a little bit about why that's so important to make sure you have a good sleep schedule?
Well, without going into the details of all the different cycles of sleep, it absolutely plays a role, I mean, like you said, in your cognitive function, but it also plays a role in your physical body, the function of your body. And so if you don't get enough sleep, I mean, you feel it. I'm sure we've all either pulled an all-nighter or even just got, 3 or 4 less hours of sleep than normal, and then you wake up and you kind of feel crummy. You feel tired, you feel that malaise feeling. You're almost like, am I getting a cold or am I not? So sleep absolutely plays a role. So making sure you get at least 7 or 8 hours of sleep, making sure it's uninterrupted, prioritizing sleep. I know that when you're in a bind and you want to get that 99% on a test or whatever you have coming up, finishing a paper, you do want to prioritize sleep, because in the end you're gonna get that worse grade and you're not gonna feel good. So you might as well try to pre-plan your sleep habits during the midterm time and the final time, and make sure that you get that 7 or 8 hours to support your body.
And it is, you hit on something that's really important, is that we talk about intentional. It's so much better to prepare in advance than to be reactionary, because if you get sick and you're doing the things to get healthier, again, it takes time, it slows you down, it interrupts a lot of things. If you just do the little things beforehand to help prevent, it's not perfect, there's still opportunity or potential that you could get sick, but a lot of these prevention methods will help you stay healthier longer, give you a better chance, and it keeps you from being disrupted in your day and what you do.
Absolutely. And it's not just for midterms or finals, it's just the whole academic year, and just make that your lifestyle. Prioritize sleep because it's important in all aspects. So if you have that as a routine, it's more likely to stick to a routine than to, live this crazy I only sleep 4-hour rule, and then you wake and then you have a test coming up and you're like, oh crap, I'm so tired, but I really got to stay up and study, and you're not doing yourself a favor. So pre-planning is always a good thing to do.
Absolutely. Okay, so we talked about the internal, like keeping your immune system, keeping your body healthy and things like that, but and those are all important, but there's also a piece that is the external. How do you keep yourself safe here in these Midwest winters, with the things you do, the clothing you wear, things like that, because for a lot of people this is their first encounter, especially international and students from other parts of the country. This is their first encounter with this winter and what it's like. And you kind of have an idea, like, oh, it gets kind of, well, I was talking to a student the other day and it was like mid 50s, and he was like, oh, it's so cool here, and I'm like, my guy, you are in for it. And I'm like, it's going to he actually said, he's like, it gets worse. Oh yes, it gets worse. And we've seen it get worse since that conversation. So it's something that's unknown. You just don't know what to do until you're in it, but there are some tips we can give and say, hey, here's some ideas. So as far as like outer protection or protecting your body, what are some things that students should be aware of in that area as well?
Well, you definitely want to dress warm, because your skin loses heat and moisture if it's not covered. Skin actually is kind of like a coat for your body, but that alone is not enough. We've all done it. I mean, 2 days ago I was outside taking my kids to daycare, and I was just wearing my scrubs. I was not wearing a coat, and my daughter brought that up to me. Mom, you're not wearing a coat. Yes, I am not, and I was freezing. Luckily, our parking spot is only, a few feet away, but I don't recommend that because I'm probably going to get sick now. But there is something to it. If you're not protecting yourself, you're losing the heat and the moisture. That does something to your immune system. We all know, our grandparents have said to us, wear your coat and bundle up or else you're going to get sick. Well, okay, we're not getting sick directly from the cold. We're not getting that virus just by going outside naked, if you will. Where it comes from is our immune system goes down or decreases because now our body is focusing on something else, like, hey, I got to keep myself warm. So it's now essentially not focusing on keeping our body healthy, and so it decreases, or maybe it's not as aware. And so now you go to a store and you touch a door handle that someone just sneezed all over, and then your nose itches, you scratch your nose, and you got a cold in a few days. So to prevent all that, you probably should have just worn a coat, and maybe don't touch the door handle, or if you do, wash your hands. But prevention, something we don't always think about. That's gonna be the key. And none of us are perfect. We'll do it occasionally, but it's just the awareness and trying to avoid it, and you'll be doing yourself a favor.
So this is going to sound like a very simple question, but for somebody who's listening who's not used to the area, what does bundle up mean here? Because for some, bundle up means, hey, I threw a jacket on from wherever they came from, where their home is. That's not bundling up here. So what does that mean here in the Midwest?
Well, I'm not going to go into like what you wear for each degree, but general winter wear, I would recommend layering first of all, because if you're not completely familiar with what's comfortable for you, putting on layers will make it easier that if you get too hot, you can remove the layers. But I would definitely have either a short sleeve or a long sleeve shirt, just, a cotton shirt is fine. Making sure that you cover, your arms. You wear long pants. I would not recommend wearing shorts. Socks, and then a sweater or a zip up over that, and then a coat. Now they have, light coats. They have thicker winter coats. I guess you can try them out both, but as it hits December, January, you probably want that thicker coat. And it's nice because as soon as you get to the classroom or wherever you're going, you can always take your coat off, and you still have the zip up if it's a little chilly in there. If someone has the heat cranked up, then you can, then the layers is what helps. Then you don't have to be sitting there and sweating. But you definitely want to, I always tell my kids, you want to be prepared. You want to have the extra layers. You can always throw them in your backpack. You can always put them in your chair or on your chair, but you're not going to have it if you get cold. So you might as well be prepared and not need it than need it and not have it.
And then on top of that, you have, it's a good idea to have some gloves in your pocket, have a scarf. Again, it's layer stuff.
Yes.
If you have the gloves in your pocket and you don't use them, hey, they're in your pocket, great. It's better to have them and not need them than to need them and not have them. That's my rule of thumb with a lot of winter wear for myself.
Yes. And I'm not encouraging you to walk and play on your phone, but they do make gloves that have the special fingertips that you can use while using your phone, whether you're listening to music or podcast, wink wink. But they do make gloves that are practical for, that way you don't have to take them off to use your phone, or if you are needing to do something on the go. Hats, obviously, you lose a lot of moisture through your head, through your scalp, so you want to cover your head, whether it's a hat or a sports cap. And then a scarf is nice because you can obviously wear it around your neck, but you can always sometimes put it around your mouth if it's extremely windy, like the cold winds where it feels like it's chapping your whole face. You can actually wrap the scarf around temporarily while you're walking, so that's always a nice option to have.
So one thing you mentioned in the prep work we were doing that I want to kind of touch on, it kind of relates to college. I don't want to say cliche, but oftentimes with college students, Friday night, Saturday night, Thursday night is about going out with friends, going to a social event, going here on campus, going to Green Street, doing something there, and you want to look your best. You got this outfit you've picked out, and your thick coat doesn't quite go with it, so you might go without your thick coat, kind of thing. And that you still want to layer. Be careful. We encourage wearing the coat. We encourage layering like that. But in your prep work, you made the comment that alcohol is not a coat, and so when you're out in a social event like that, and you may be drinking, what did you mean by that when you made that statement? Alcohol is not a coat. What are you referencing?
Yeah, so for those of you who have tried alcohol, especially when it's cold out, or even when it's not cold out, if you drink alcohol, generally you feel a little warmer. Your cheeks can get a little flushed. That's your vessels expanding, and you feel a lot warmer. But that is, that's all fine. But if you go outside, like I said, you're losing your heat and the moisture through your skin exposed to the wind and the cold. So now that your vessels are more opened up, think about it as a cup of coffee. If you take a very small cup of, a cup of coffee with like a very small opening at the top, it's not going to get cold as fast as if you were to take a gigantic mug that has a really wide opening. It's going to get cooler a lot faster, the surface area exposure. So it's the same thing. If you're going outside and, you don't have the coat on and your vessels are nice, open like that coffee cup, you're going to lose, the moisture and the heat a lot faster. You might not feel it because you're under the influence, but you are losing it at a higher rate. So while you may feel like you're wearing a coat under the name of alcohol, you're actually not. If anything, you're speeding up the process of losing the heat. So it's always important to, if you don't want to wear a coat, if it's not super cute, start thinking of what are some of the things I have that I can layer that can function as a coat that's still cute. Can I put on a cute little scarf and wrap it a cute little way? You wear, I don't know if earmuffs are in or not, but you can wear cute little earmuffs. Or if you want to express your personality, if an earmuff has some rabbit ears or something, I don't know. But you can get creative, but just think layering and just covering those exposed areas.
And it comes back to being intentional, right? You can get creative, but you just have to think about it and say, okay, what am I going to do?
Right.
And it comes there. The other thing with the external that you mentioned that honestly, I've lived in Central Illinois most of my whole life. There's been a couple times I've moved to other places in the Midwest, but I've been here. I've been exposed to the cold. I know what it does to my skin, but you know how many times I don't think about moisturizing. And you mentioned that in the prep work too. And then you were just talking about the winds on your face. So why is it so important to use chapstick to moisturize when you're out in the winds that we get here on campus? Why is that something that students really need to think about?
So think about what happens when when the buildings get heated. Naturally, the moisture is taken out of the air as the building is heated up. And so the same thing happens. You're in the building, the moisture is going to be taken away from you as well. It's kind of like that osmosis process. And so the moisture gets sucked out of your skin without you noticing it, and it becomes dry. But you want to keep that moisture, and the best way to keep it is using moisturizers. Other tips would be avoiding super hot water. Heat, obviously, as we just mentioned, takes extra moisture away. So when you're washing your hands, make sure it's lukewarm water and not, the blazing hot water. We do like our blazing hot showers, but we do have, a moisturizer afterwards that we can apply. But if you're, in a lab or something, turn on the lukewarm water instead of the super hot water, and then that'll protect your hands a little bit.
Well, you said it earlier in the conversation that your skin is basically your coat. Like your natural coat. It doesn't work as well as a coat, but it's there. But it's your protector, right? It's the thing that protects your body. It's that barrier that keeps you healthy. And so just taking care of it, and the simple thing of moisturizer, of putting chapstick on your lips, those little steps make a huge difference in keeping you healthy, especially on a campus like this. And then if you put chapstick on your lips and then put a scarf over top it, you're even better. You're layering your protection that way as well. So before we close, the last thing I wanted to bring, the last point I wanted to bring up is that we talked a lot about physical health. We talked about the internal, we talked about the external and protecting yourself. But in the winter that we get here, it's also about mental health. we get a lot of gray days, especially in December through March, and that, we see it especially in like late January, February, where it seems like it's just day upon day upon day where you have not seen the sun. It's just been clouds one day after another, and it can be a lot. And then you add in the stress of academics, of trying to balance everything. It can really take its toll on you. So, what are some tips you have for maintaining some of that mental health during those gray days? What are some options that students should take advantage of that will help them to navigate those times?
Yeah. Again, we talked about prevention. Same thing applies here. You want to prevent from, running out of fuel. You want to refuel your car before it's on empty. So, the general things that most of us are aware that help boost our, natural mental health is exercise, making sure you're staying active. It doesn't mean you need to go to the arc and go run a mile, because who has time for that? But going outside for, 10, 15 minutes, taking a walk around the block, especially if there's, a few rays of sunshine there for half an hour, or even, if your friend has a dog, going outside with them and take the dog for a walk, or walking to Jimmy John's instead of having them deliver something. Just that 10-15 minutes of exercise, as well as the oxygen, they do wonders for your body. Additionally, to the movement, nutrition is very important. When you don't eat, it's like you don't put gas in your car. How are you going to run if you don't have gas in your car? You need to eat. Yes, you'll have those days where you're like, nothing sounds good. But that's when you want to be intentional and maybe just eat a few things that might not sound good, but you're still feeding your body. Other things is making sure that you choose, again, intentionally, to do something nice for yourself. You are here on campus studying. You're doing it maybe for, you might be doing it for yourself. You might be doing it for your parents. You might be, who knows, whatever your reason is. But in the end, you want to find something that you truly enjoy and devote some time to it. We may not have a few hours to do something fun, but if you are smart about your time, maybe a half an hour a week, maybe it's 10 minutes a day, depending on what you like to do, listening to music without interruptions, or going on a walk with a friend, or going to Espresso Royale and having a cup of coffee with a friend. But whatever that thing that you enjoy doing, you want to absolutely make time for it, because that is absolutely a priority in addition to your academics.
And again, you're planning it out, you're making time for that. Another thing that I think we all here in McKinley would suggest is you have a plan, you have an idea what's going on, but then on those random moments when unexpectedly the sun says hi, find a way to go say hi back.
Yes.
That's a really important time to get outside and get some of that air and just feel that warmth, that that vitamin D that comes in. Just have that opportunity to take advantage, because you never know when it's going to come back for a while. It usually does, but it can be days on end. And so when those things happen, it's always interesting to me. It's always good to see. It's always interesting for me to see that the moment in February when a little bit of sun peeks out, people are out running. It doesn't matter what the temperature is, they're out running in it, because all of a sudden there's an opportunity to have that boost, that serotonin that pops in on that. Go ahead.
I was saying, in the event that the sun does not come out, or you are stuck in a basement for whatever purpose, they do make lamps that are, they're not the actual sun, obviously, but they've gotten pretty smart with technology and making lamps that either resemble the sun or just emanate that type of lighting that can boost your mood. So having one of those, if you are stuck in the basement or in your office, is nice when you can't get to the sun.
And so the other thing that I really want to highlight for mental health during those winter months, if you're feeling that drag and that pull, and you're just like, I'm just a little bit down because of it, give us a call at McKinley. Come in here and see, come talk to Kate or any of our other providers, and they can help talk it through. And it may simply be, you need to take a vitamin, you're doing okay. It may be you need to talk to somebody, and we have a mental health unit, we have a counseling center. Don't be afraid to reach out on that, because that's what we're here for, to try and help through that. And if you have any questions about anything, whether it be, what kind of coach should I get, make an appointment here, call in, and it'll be an opportunity to talk, because that's, I mean, you're here to help and you're here to share, and I know you've talked about it, that you build relationships with the students that you see, because you're here to support them and their academics and their life here on campus.
Oh, I have told several of my students if you want to just come and talk, I won't tell my boss, and we're not billing insurance, so there's nothing to worry about. If you want to just come and chat, actually, you know what, that might make my day a little better, because then I don't have to look at another, stuffy nose or someone coughing in my face. It would be nice to just sit down and talk about how lame this winter is, and what we can do to make ourselves feel better. So yeah, I won't ever say no if you want to come and just chat.
And so that's what we're here for. We want to support, and that's why we're here. That's why we work in college health and here on this campus. Kate, thank you so much for taking the time to share with us today, to share your expertise, and I just really appreciate you coming and chatting with us.
Thank you, and thanks for having me here.